Hey there, it's Anonymous Tea, where we spill the tea anonymously. Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, YouTubers. Hope you guys are all having an amazing day today, sending good vibes, sending positivity, sending blessings, and good energy to each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, we're talking love and marriage Huntsville. Y'all know y'all here. Anything I say is alleged in my very, very personal opinion. This is for entertainment purposes only. None of this is personal. The Copyright Act of 1976 is in the description. Some housekeeping items, some meat and potato items. It is free to follow me. It is free to follow me on Anonymous Tea, this channel. It is free to follow me on my other channel, Anonymous Tea Podcast. It is free to follow me on TikTok at Anonymous Tea Podcast. It is free to follow me on the gram, on the Instagrammies at Anonymous Reality Tea. And it is free to share everywhere. So yesterday, we had the story that broke about, Liberic filing a motion wanting Destiny to face more jail time in addition to the suspended jail sentence previously. And because he's saying not only does she still owe him the $18,000, but there was a breach in their custody agreement in terms of when Destiny's motion for the restraining order got denied. I think she just decided to kidnap the child. I mean, let's just call it for what it is. It's because she's been having the kid for 9 days and counting, y'all. And she was supposed to exchange the child back with Liberic on this past Sunday. And she still has the child. So there was an order that they were supposed to have a hearing next Thursday, the 13th of February. And in that order, it was supposed to be that it said that the father, which is Liberic, to bring a relative to watch the minor child as they go through the proceedings. And so everybody was like, this is not a good look for Destiny. This is not going to be, working out in her favor if they're saying all of this. And they're reporting her back to the original judge. So now we have an update, you guys. Now we have an update after Liberic's attorney had filed the motion to hold Destiny in contempt and say that she was in violation on multiple things. Destiny's attorney now responds. And in her response, Urban Bell, of course, has it. Shout out to them. Destiny acknowledges that she and Liberic had a custody agreement in which they switched custody on Sundays. She also recognizes that the protection order wasn't granted. However, she claims that she's maintained custody of their child because of Liberic's arrest for domestic violence. You can't just ignore the agreement, Destiny. Their attorneys were coordinating to adjust their custody agreement in light of the arrest. Destiny's attorney claims it took them a week to receive access to Liberic's bond addendum. They claim Liberic's attorney failed to respond until after his attorney sent over a second request for a conference on February 3rd. And after the conference, Liberic pushed to have Destiny father involved in the custody exchange. Destiny pushed back on this because of his health. Well, wait, didn't Destiny say that her father was in great health now? That everything was all good? So if her father is in bad health, again, who was watching the baby last Saturday, y'all? Who was watching the baby last Saturday while Destiny was having all these technical difficulties with her TikTok live that took forever to get off the ground because of stolen internet at the storage facility, allegedly? And then after that, you run yourself over to Trisha's Western party, to Trent's Western party. So who was watching the baby then? Who was watching the child then if your father is in bad health? Who is taking care of the child, Destiny, that the child is basically wherever for these past 9+ days? Can you make it make sense? So she feels Liberic was unreasonable in this request and his subsequent motion filing. In the document, Destiny alleges once more that Liberic was physically ABUSIVE in their marriage and expressed concern for her safety. Destiny is asking the court to deny this motion and instead rule they continue negotiating their amended custody in light of the arrest. So you still want to keep the child from LeBaric while negotiation is still allegedly not taking place, as we're going into the 10th day that LeBaric has not seen his son. She also requests the judge to have LeBaric pay her attorney fees. Oh, because she probably can't afford it. Because Carlos King pays in Monopoly money. So if you can't pay it, why not just do whatever the equal amount of time is behind bars? Or garnish the wages from whatever allegedly is being paid for Love and Marriage Huntsville. Currently, details of LeBaric's arrest warrant and bond addendum have not been made available. Lastly, a hearing has been set for February 13th, and the order for the case requests their child to arrive with LeBaric and present with an additional adult. However, Destiny's attorney is asking for a continuance as they have prior obligations that day. It remains to be seen if LeBaric will be given custody of their child if the case is delayed. And see, this is another play right out of Martell's playbook to file these continuances. So now all of a sudden y'all have allegedly been negotiating all this time, but still delaying when LeBaric can see his child. But now all of a sudden you can file this emergency response. Make it make sense. So it says the following, courtesy of Urban Bell, because she always provides the court documents, and it says the following. It says, defendant's response to plaintiff's motion to return child and motion for contempt. Comes now the defendant, Destiny Payton, and brought by her attorney of record, Kristen Butler, and files for the court her defendant's response to plaintiff's motion to return child and motion for contempt and support thereof set out as follows. That the defendant agrees with the allegations contained in paragraphs 1 and 2, but notes that this is intentional bad faith framing the facts of omission of key information. Defendant averts that the plaintiff was arrested and on January 21st, 2025, a bond condition addendum was entered permitting the plaintiff to contact the defendant only for the purpose of custodial exchange. Wow, you know, that sounds very familiar. Remember when, Martell was only supposed to contact Mel as it pertained to, anything regarding the children? And he was still in violation of that. That the defendant still did not receive a copy of the bond condition addendum until January 27, 2025 by mail. That on January 28, 2025, having been made aware of the bond condition addendum, defendant's counsel immediately reached out to counsel for plaintiff to facilitate the custodial exchanges under the conditions set forth in the bond condition addendum to arrange makeup days for the plaintiff and further come to a mutual long-term arrangement to minimize further conflict between the parties and need for court intervention. That a copy of this request is attached to herein is Exhibit A. That the counsel for the plaintiff failed to respond until after the defendant's counsel sent a second request for an immediate conference on Monday, February 3rd, attached, here too, which is Exhibit B. That upon returning to the office Tuesday, February 4th, defendant's counsel noted after-hours phone call was made at the defendant's counsel office from the office of the plaintiff's counsel. Counsel for the defendant promptly returned the call, and a 2 p.m. phone conference took place with the plaintiff's counsel on Tuesday, February 4th, the same day. Shortly after said phone conference, plaintiff's counsel responded with an amended custodial exchange process which required the defendant's terminally ill elderly father to facilitate the exchange. Less than an hour after the initial phone conference and prior to the defendant's counsel being able to respond to any resulting communication, plaintiff's counsel filed their misleading and bad faith motion with the court. So now Destiny's father is terminally ill. See, you did all this madness, Destiny. You caused all this chaos, Destiny. And now all of a sudden, your father is terminally ill, but LeBaric now wants nothing to do with you. LeBaric now does not want to do anything between you and him anymore because you broke that boundary. You're now saying he's an ABUSER, so he wants a third party. He wants an intermediary in between these exchanges because you're not to be trusted. Because he's not trying to have another situation where you call the cops again and claim that he mishandled you or the kid. So that is why he wants a third party, and for all intents and purposes, he thought that your father was fine. But now, according to you, he's terminally ill. Make sense. So now, upon the best information and belief, the defendant avers and a reasonable offer using her terminally ill elderly father as a pawn was made to create further delay and attempt to justify the plaintiff's manipulated timeline of recent events. That plaintiff filed a bad faith motion and alleging that the defendant was willfully withholding the child despite as shown in the attached exhibits, being fully aware that the defendant and her counsel were actively attempting to seek a resolution to this issue and were offering makeup days. Plaintiff did so without waiting even a full hour for a response from the defendant to the offer that they had made, and despite assurances a response would come on the same date. That, in accordance with the statements made by this honorable judge, defendant's counsel believed that this was an easy resolvable issue without the intervention of court, and still believes it would be so if not by the plaintiff's regretful attempt at manipulating the court record by omitting the very fact that the defendant was actively attempting to arrange for a custodial exchange. That is the pattern of the plaintiff's counsel refusing to respond or otherwise discuss or exchange custody issues with defendant's counsel, preferring instead to force all such discussion to occur in court during active litigation. Well, it seems that there's games being played, so at this point it seems that court is the only thing Destiny responds to. That seems to be the going play here. The plaintiff at no point communicated with the defendant regarding exchange, despite the bond condition addendum permitting him to do so. That the defendant averts that she fears for her safety in the presence of the plaintiff, as the plaintiff physically abused her during the marriage. Well, if that is the case, why were you comfortable doing all these exchanges all this time? Why didn't you have a third party, do the exchange? Make it make sense. Now all of a sudden in 2025, y'all have been divorced for how long? So now you fear for your safety, but why didn't you have this in place all along? That the defendant does not feel safe seeing the plaintiff at custodial exchanges, given the plaintiff grabbed and screamed at her during a prior custodial exchange, which required the intervention of an uninformed police officer. Or not an uninformed... A uniformed police officer. That the defendant agrees with the allegation that the plaintiff father's custodial week would have begun February 2nd, 2025, and February 1st, 2025, Destiny was busy all day on the botched TikTok live and the Western filmed event for LAMH at Trends event party, country Western. So again, who had the child? Who was watching the baby? Who was watching the kid? Was it the terminally ill father or somebody else? The alleged terminally ill father now. So now, so let me just say, and then points out, given the delayed response by the plaintiff's counsel and the plaintiff's lack of attempt at discussing such issue with the defendant, that this was a blatant attempt to delay the conversation and custodial exchange of the minor child so to justify a motion for contempt. Thus, defendant's counsel requests attorney's fees for the need to file and address this motion due to the bad faith of the plaintiff and his counsel on the situation. Wherefore, premises considered, the defendant respectfully requests this honorable court to enter a court denying the plaintiff's motion to return the child and motion for contempt, and ordering the parties to continue their already ongoing conversations on how to resolve this topic. Defendant requests in the alternative this honorable court to enter an order setting the plaintiff's motion and defendant their response, therefore hearing on the same date as the defendant's petition for protection from ABUSC. Defendant further requests an order to be entered awarding her attorney's fees and costs incurred in her response in a frivolous bad faith motion filed by the plaintiff. Defendant further requests such additional or different relief that the court deems just and appropriate. And so then this is like a certificate of service, and also has, an email about if you have some time and conversations and all this and that. For me, it's like this, y'all. It's like this. So you fear for your life and all these things with LeBaric, but somehow allegedly everything is copacetic. You guys were working on an exchange plan and allegedly makeup days, but somehow the communication has gone haywire, and something tipped off the attorney to say, hey, things are not getting response in a timely manner. Let's go ahead and file this motion because it seems that games are being played. So my thing is, if we're going on several days now, still trying to work out an arrangement of makeup days, and you're already well into your supposed week that you're supposed to have the kids, something isn't adding up. Something isn't making sense, y'all. And then I think, as well, it's not included in these documents, but I did see, allegedly, the attorney is trying to request for a continuance as well, and claims that, they can't do the 13th because the daughter has some type of wrestling tournament or wrestling match, you guys. Nonetheless, I don't understand. I'm guessing it's booked right now in Madison County, the dates are stacking up, that there's too many criminals and there's too many issues at family court right now in Madison County that this date couldn't be pushed up sooner, because at this point, if it's the same judge that is tired of the shenanigans that is taking place in this case, that is tired of seeing both of these people in the courts, I would keep this date or see about possibly moving it up at this point, because it's just going to be one thing after the other. And then the thing with this continuance is that that's going to be more time the kid's kidnapped. I mean, it's extended days, with the mother who all of a sudden is fearing for her life, you guys. And it's like, my thing is, wouldn't this be an open and shut case if this ABUSC was going on like this entire time? Why is this only coming out now? And that's what I'm saying. I'm not discounting ABUSC or SA or any of the things, you guys. But my thing is this. This entire time, we did not hear one thing about no ABUSC until the Dear Future Wifey podcast show. So, and then ever since then, it has been trying to, insert this. And that's why people are like, okay, if you fear for your life, how is it that you can hang for the life of Martel, who is talking about how he likes to do corporal punishment on the kids? And that would be one of the, stipulations if the kids are allowed back on the show to film, is he would like to invoke corporal punishment. And that there was allegedly an incident so bad with the son that Martel was ordered to stay away from the kids for 56 days. And then Tisha was scared of Martel just popping up on her and Destiny at lunch, that she said she will never be in the presence of Martel again without her husband there. And then, Destiny, you claim to start a foundation because of the scene with Tisha and Martel was so quote-unquote triggering that you had to start a foundation about DV victims based off of that scene, but yet you still hang out with Martel. And not only that, you accuse Martel and Mel of grooming, but you have your child around Martel all the time. Can you make it make sense? Because if you are so anti-ABUSC, why are you thick as thieves with Martel? Why is Martel allowed to be around your kid like this? If he's doing all these things, if he's grooming people, if he is allegedly running up on people and frightening people to the point that they don't want to be around Martel alone, that they want their husband around, can somebody make it make sense to me? as to, you know, if you are really serious and about this life, all forms of ABUSC are off the table, are not something that you're about, and you're not going to put yourself or your child in harm's way. And again, if the father is terminally ill, who is watching the kid while you're trying to be a reality star? While you're trying to get 15 minutes of fame, while you are desperate for this monopoly money from Carlos King, who's watching the child that it is going on 10 days since the father has seen it? Can you make it make sense? So basically, you're trying to excuse complying with the law, but even in your exhibits, it's not providing any valid reasons as to why LeBaric couldn't continue with the schedule, because basically what you're saying is, based off of the agreement, you guys were still allowed to communicate as it pertained to the kid and work on a custodial agreement because they thought you guys were adults. But clearly, that's not the case, and this is a level of pettywop and the pettywop war, which is not going to end well. But nonetheless, this is exhausting, y'all. This is absolutely exhausting, because it's like, at what point is this going to stop? The courts, the family court system especially, in Madison County needs to be investigated, because there is no way in a lot of these other states, especially up north, would this type of tomfoolery fly at this point. Because it would get to a point where, you know what, if the courts are going to be on some BS, the kids start to make their own decisions. That's how it goes in other places, y'all. Is if the courts wants to play games like this and do all these delays and do all these continuances, it gets to the point where the kids say, you know what, I'm going to make the decision. I want nothing to do with this parent. And that's how it goes. Like, real talk. Real talk, real receipts. I'm telling you, that's what this ends up happening, not this foolishness going on in Madison County. If there's not a decision made at some of these other court systems, the kids will make the decision for them and tell them, thanks but no thanks, I want nothing to do with this parent. Case closed. So there is that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment I post new content on my channel. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys again very soon.